Yeah, you're doing the opposite of what I do, right? I went from politics to business, and you're doing the business to politics. So I have this marketing system in place, but I'd be happy to show you how it worked in politics too. And I tell this story in the book, but I think it would be relevant for your podcast as well if you're open to it.
Love it. Yeah, let's go. Shoot, man. I want to hear it.
So really, we have this 5-step process, which is I'll walk through it really quickly, but then I'll illustrate it in a story of a campaign from 2020 we worked on. But basically, every political campaign that we work on, we go, first of all, we need to understand the voters, right? We need to know the issues that are driving them to vote for candidates, whether they're crossing party lines or voting for an unknown candidate. And the second is, just like in your business, you put a business plan together. You put a plan together with an alignment between the vision of the candidate and the vision of the voters, right? What is the alignment there? You don't want to be out in the stump talking about things the voters don't care about. You want to find it has to be the things you care about, but where you have alignment with the voters. Step 3 is you put together your website, your brand, all those types of things. I never put the website or the brand together first, because your brand should be about 2 or 3 things. That's it. And if you're going to drive and spend money on ads to drive people to your website to learn more, donate, volunteer, support you, it better resonate with them. So why spend $1 on any ads before the brand is on point? Step 4 is we test those messages that within those 2 or 3 messages, we test them in 100 different ways. A great example of this, Gary, is in the Trump campaign in 2016. They would, in this process, in the step 4 of this marketing process for them, they would test one ad 162 different ways. One ad, one message.
What? Holy cow.
Yep. Gary Kobe, one of the digital directors for that campaign.
They test one ad 250 different ways.
162.
172 different ways.
Yeah, and what they would do is they literally would have one message, and they would have a green background, a red background, a woman in the ad, a man in the ad, the man in the right corner, the woman in the left corner. They have different fonts, different sizes. They would do 162 versions of it. And ultimately, they found about 8 or 9 of just one message. 8 or 9 of those blew through the roof, and they had no idea why. But they knew they had to go do low-cost ad testing on one message, and they needed to do it 162 different ways. Now, they had a lot of money. Most candidates can't, they want it. Maybe they can test it 10 ways, 20 ways, right? But ultimately, before they went out and spent a ton of money on an ad campaign, they had the certainty of knowing what would work. They also had their brand on point. So when they sent that voter back to the website, they knew that would resonate with that voter, right? And the example I would give you is Congressman Roger Williams out of Texas. He last year he was on the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee's top targeted list. His district is right outside Austin, Texas, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
And even touches a part of Austin. And we found during COVID, we were looking at all the voter data through our database, and we noticed that obviously healthcare was a major issue. And right at that point during COVID, this was back in like May and June of 2020, we knew that pre-existing conditions were a really big factor, because people were realizing that they could die if they had a pre-existing condition. The Democratic National Committee said that they were going to start attacking Republicans on pre-existing conditions. So because we had that data from the voters, we had that data from the Democrats, we put a media plan together for him. And then, so that's step 2, right? And then we worked and identified how we were going to address it on his brand. And we identified it and put together on his website. And I'm going to tell you what it was in a second. And then we went out and tested the ad we were going to run to address this. And it blew through the roof. And what happened was that Roger Williams is a cancer survivor, and he has a pre-existing condition. And we knew the attack was going to come. And I believe it was Julie Davis. Don't hold me to that, but I think that was her opponent. I can't draw on a blank right now. But in September of 2020, sure enough, she launched the pre-existing condition ad. And we had that thing in the can. And so all of a sudden, Roger Williams on camera talking about being a cancer survivor. We ran it in August before the attack came. And by the time the attack came, we kept running it. and it had no effect whatsoever. Roger ended up winning by double digits. He was the highest winning targeted Republican in the entire Congress with the highest winning percentage. And part of that was that we followed this 5-step system. We blunted their attacks every single step of the way because we knew they were looking at the data too. We knew what they were going to attack us on, and we were able to address that before they did. And because we followed this 5-step system and we were more innovative than them, Roger won with the highest percentage of any targeted Republican congressional member that ran in the state of Texas that year.
Okay, so that's, your number 4 was testing messages,
Yep.
100 different ways. What was 5?
Thank you. Step 5 is, now that you know everything that's going to work, you launch your real campaign. You launch your ad campaign because you've eliminated your risk. You're probably raising a lot of money right now. You're probably maybe even spending some of your own money right now. Your dollars are precious.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that every step of the way you're eliminating your risk, just like you do in business.
Sure.
And for us, this 5-step system eliminates as much risk as humanly possible. In business, it eliminates the risk to almost guarantee a profit. In the political sphere, you got to understand, you're competing against, whether you're in a primary or whether you're in a general election, you're competing against your opponents are all utilizing this exact same system. So who's going to out innovate who?
Sure.
You a Chicago Bears fan?
I am a Bears fan. Yeah. White Sox and Bears.
Can I give you how it works, the Chicago Bears, the system?
Yeah, sure.
So
I'm feeling like it sounds very well, but yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, every sports team uses this system, and all of their opponents use this system. So it's the matter of who out innovates who in the system. And the way it works is this: the Bears, let's say they play the Packers the week before, and then the next week they're playing the Vikings. Okay. And the first thing they do when they come back to the facility on Monday is, what do? They look at game tape. They look at the data of the previous weeks. They look at the Vikings game tape. They're looking at all the data to assess what they need to do to win the game, the next game. The next step is the coaches put a game plan together. They put in step 2, they put a strategic plan together. Step 3, who is the owner of the Bears now?
It's the Alice's.
Okay.
Well, it's McCaskey. So the house found McCaskey's.
Yeah. All right. The McCaskies, they get the brand right. They clean the stadium before the game. You can't walk into a dirty stadium. They wash the jerseys. They get the concessions in line. Everything is on point, on brand, because you can't send fans into a stadium when the brand isn't on point.
Yep.
Step 4, testing. What do the players do all week? They practice the game plan. They practice the plays all week long. They figure out what plays work and what plays don't. They figure out what tendencies they have that they need to work through. They practice, and then they figure out what works. And then what happens Sunday? They go play the game. Same thing. Yep. Do they always win? No, it's the one that out innovates that wins. And that's the same way it is on a political campaign. The only area that I have seen that does not utilize this system, by the way, lawyers use it to win cases, venture capital companies use it to invest in companies, like, it's on and on and on, is business marketers. And so if you utilize this formula in the business marketing sphere, you're the only one utilizing it in your industry.
Yeah.
Against your competition.